All right, I'm standing here with Tony Reda of Tectonic Metals. Sir, what are you doing here? You do some of these conferences, not all of them, but I saw you again at Rick Rule's thing. I think you were at Beaver Creek.
Yep.
You're doing another one. What are you hoping to achieve, and specifically in Europe, what are you doing? What's the goal of your marketing campaign here?
Yeah, well, Zurich is one of the financial capitals of Europe. They also know gold and commodities, so there's a history of that. We also have a history of raising capital out in Europe, more specifically here in Zurich. So the intention behind this conference is to meet with potential shareholders, existing shareholders, and others, perhaps service providers, things of that nature. But you can kill a bunch of birds with one stone, and there's some additional marketing that I'm doing here in the city as well.
I hope you're not trying to kill any service providers, because I kind of felt that almost personally.
Well, this is a great opportunity to interact with you, right? So the thing I like to do with any event or any company initiatives is to maximize my return on it. So if I'm just going to go to Zurich and stand here or do a couple meetings, or I can do that and do dinners, meetings in and around the city, use it as a launching pad to another European city, and to meet and converse with you, which gives me, media exposure and things of that nature. So, make every dollar go as far as possible.
What's return, though? That's an interesting question with marketing. It's not as tangible. So what are you hoping to achieve? You want new investors. You want to inform your current one. You're looking for strategic deals. What exactly are you looking for?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because sometimes with marketing, you really have to take a step back and assess, okay, how do I measure the success of this marketing or corporate initiative? So for me, one metric could be the amount of meetings, the quality of meetings. Perhaps there could be sometimes share price, like buying in the open market, could be volume. I'm also trying to solidify relationships and also plant seeds for future financings. We've learned through the last, maybe decade or so, that capital doesn't come from North America anymore. You have to look outside of that region. And so I have, the last few financings, I have a lot of European investors. So when Canada's on strike or Bay Street is on strike, you got to learn to shift and cast your fishing rod in a different lake, if you will, to catch that fish. So the return I use is just, a lot of it's internally, like, did these meetings go well? Is there any future follow-up? Is there potentially a financing order? Maybe there's also corporate synergies. That's another thing, that I come to these conferences to also see, learn, and meet with my peers. We're all traveling in different directions, but you congregate here, and I don't know what the total number is, but I think there's probably about 50 to 100 exploration and mining companies here. So I can meet with them, and maybe there's corporate synergies that are available to me. So it's a broad band of sort of metrics to validate the decision to come here, whether or not there was some ROI. And sometimes you put your best foot forward, and then you walk away from that conference, and you're like, shoot, that was a waste of time and money. Usually I've rarely experienced that, because there's enough history here that you kind of know what you're getting into, and a lot of the onus falls on yourself. Like, how can I make, if the conference is a 7 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10, how can I make that a 9 out of 10? And maybe I need to get outside of these four walls and go and meet with, a lot of the money managers, the family offices. Within this 5 to 10 block radius, there's probably about 800 family offices here. Yeah.
When you go and talk to them, or when you're just trying to get new investors interested in the story of Tectonic Metals, what exactly are you telling them? What are you finding that resonates the most? What are you selling? Are you selling size? Are you selling grade? Are you selling? What are you selling?
I think if I was an investor, and what I try to lead first is with people. That's the only real asset in the mining space, or with any company. So you can invest in a ticker symbol. You can invest in a billboard on, when a chat or whatever, or a newsletter recommendation, or you can actually meet the person that you're giving your capital to, and saying, can I trust this gentleman, or this person, I should say, to execute on what he's saying? So really, it's an opportunity for them to meet the person behind the company, to learn about the vision and the strategy, why do we exist, what's our intention, and where we're going to be in the next 12 to 24 to 36 months. So I try to get that across, and then we can dive into the granularity of the company, the near-term catalyst, why we're excited about this drill hole or this drill bit, or a relationship with the local communities or the indigenous groups, things of that nature. And you try to do that all within 25 minutes or 20 minutes, which is a lot. And sometimes it's just a matter of just getting to know one another, and you don't even have to flip a page. For them to walk away and say, I want to put Tectonic on my watch screen, that's a win. Or me to then follow up and say, hey, did you have any questions? Would you like a follow-up meeting, which may be an hour long? That's a win for me.
You do have some assays coming up.
Yes.
Is that what you're excited about, or are you losing sleep over it?
Maybe a bit of both.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I would think anybody would be lying. Like, we're dealing with a. I always tell people, including my kids, like this: the diameter of a drill hole is 2.5, 3 inches, and you're driving it 200 to 300 meters below the surface. You can't be like, I'm gonna get it. I know where it is. Mother Nature, is not that easy. So I think you always lose a bit of sleep, but there is a bit of there's actually a lot of excitement. It's like kind of like Christmas morning, hoping you get that present that you've always wanted. So I am excited. There's 16 holes that are pending, and we expect to have assay results here this month, the initial batch, and then the subsequent weeks, then the following, the remainder, if you will.
You're not giving your kids drill core for Christmas, are you?
No drill core. Though Dad wouldn't mind some good drill core, gold bearing drill core specifically.
That's fair.
Yeah.
You have money right now, I believe.
Yes.
Just got the money in.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with it on the back of these assays? I suppose people want to see drilling, and I suppose that's what people are asking you. So.
Yeah. So we were at a point where the money, it took what it took to get the money in. We did raise $5 million, but it didn't all come in one shot. So the first tranche was $3 million. That we got in via the capital raise, and that was like, okay, yes, now let's go drill with that. And then we were hoping to get the other second batch closed quicker, but we had to make the decision to stop drilling, and that's fine too. So this capital is now going to give us enough runway for the next year, as far as, not necessarily for drilling, but there's enough capital to do other initiatives. We have some I can't speak of exactly, but we do have a few ideas in the hopper right now. And pertaining to flat itself, what I'm really excited about now, I can say, is that we have 2 kilometers of drilled strike. With the drill holes pending, we could potentially have 3 kilometers into a new area. So, I don't know if anyone realizes, sometimes we say these distances kind of like haphazardly, but 3 kilometers or 2 kilometers, that is a massive, if you can turn that into a deposit, that is going to be massive. So there's enough meat on the bone to say, okay, let's start looking at this from a resource estimate perspective. What are we dealing with? And internally, the whole point of the metallurgical results that we announced, those heap leach column tests, were to validate the heap leach potential. And that came back with a screaming woohoo, yes. I was insanely excited about that. That, to me, is the most important news release for our company this year. But to take this potential resource that we're going to be doing in-house and start wrapping some economics around this. So that capital has been used to hire a resource estimator to do an internal scoping study. And then, depending on the results, we can formulate a strategy and communicate that strategy to the markets next year. And where this is all going is that if you think you have a mine, stop talking about it, show me. And so that's what the metallurgy was about. We're not going to be scared to put our neck out, because if it came back with shit, then we're like, okay, we have to reroute, look at this project differently. But so far, everything's been lining up accordingly, and that's kind of the intentions for as we look into 2025. We'll use these drill results, but regardless of those drill results, there's enough meat on the bone now where we have 2 Ks of strike, down to 300 meters vertical. We can start wrapping our head around a resource and possibly some sort of economics to either present to the market or present to someone who comes in under non-disclosure, like a corporate, a major mining company, and really say, okay, like, we're putting this up on a platter, continuing with the Christmas tree. Here's your Christmas present. Do you want this or not? Is this worth doing?
You're kind of stealing my thunder, because that's what I wanted to ask. I wanted to seem smart here and ask you, who's the market for you? Is it us, retail investors, or is it you looking for a strategy to come in and help you actually grow and develop this thing?
Yeah, I guess, my approach as a CEO is to keep optionality is the most important thing. Sometimes what I want doesn't matter. Like, I might want this drill hole TEDx, and it doesn't do that. I might want a Newmont to come in and take me out, or come in as a partner, but ultimately they're driving their bus, I'm driving my bus. So what I like to do is present options and see who I want to date. And based on the terms available, we'll make a decision. Based on market conditions, we'll make a decision there. Going back to the financing, do I want to be raising money at 6 cents? No, I hate that. Sorry, I just swore that came out. But no, that's not my intentions. But Do I want to sit on my hands for a year? No, I don't want to do that either. So you got to take the dilution. The dilution is the gas in the car. It's like me and you are sitting in this Ferrari and we're not going anywhere. Well, we got to fill the tank up with gas, or we're just going to sit here and enjoy this beautiful vehicle as is, which is still a win in many ways. But I want to test drive this thing. I want to drive it. So that's the approach. And so I'm really emphasizing that what I want. Okay, I can't change this. There's things I can control. So how do we make the best out of this situation right now? And so I'm going to be continuing my dialogue with corporates, private equity, our partners, our top shareholders, and I'm going to lay out, these are the options in front of us for next year. We can raise X amount to work towards a resource. We can keep doing exploration drilling. We can sit on our hands because we have enough capital, wait for a better market. So these are, at least we have options. Most companies are on their last breath and they're like, shit, what do we do now? And they're just kind of going into turtle mode. And one thing I would say about Tectonic is that we've never really gone into turtle mode, but maybe that's the best, thinking out loud, or maybe defense is the best offense and you need to kind of sometimes go to turtle mode and just like take a pause too. So maybe that's what the next couple of months will be for us as well.
Well, I hope you're not changing your name to Defense Metals. Tectonic sounds better.
No.
When you go and talk to these guys here, what I deem to be smart money,
Sure.
family offices, institutional investors, you tell them this story. What's the pushback you get? What do they have questions about, or what do they deem as a risk that you're currently solving?
I think the biggest pushback is, let me think about this, but the first thing that comes to mind is the broader markets. Trump is in power, the Dow Jones, the Nasdaq, they're ripping. And then you got gold that's come off a bit, and you got Tectonic and other exploration companies. I always say money follows money. You can't ignore where the S&P might be here in the next 6 months. And a lot of people are just shifting capital into there. So that's the backdrop. And here I come and say, hey, buy this junior exploration company. So that would say, like, the fact that the markets are performing so well, NVIDIA, the AI, they're just like, that's gotten everyone's attention. And now with Trump in power, I think that's just getting amplified, that there could be a lot of runway in front of us for that to perform. Now, specific to Tectonic, the pushback is like, okay, great, you got this awesome asset. How do you take a 6 cent story and turn it into $1? And how do you get the capital to make that happen? So yeah, we've raised $5 million this year. We raised a similar amount last year, which is great. But to really do something meaningful, you need like 10 plus million. So how are we going to make that happen to really move the dial? And I think for shareholders, for some family offices, it's like, how do I wrap my head around that opportunity? I think when we meet with family offices or corporates that have geologists on their team, they're like, wow, this is a fascinating project. But trying to make the connection between, capital, share price, and how to go from here. And this is not just a Tectonic. This is a lot of companies, because I'm an investor too. They're just like, okay, great, you think this is the next 5 million ounces, but you need, again, gas in the car. How are you going to get there? And what are you going to do in the next 6 months for me that's going to re-rate your stock?
What are you going to do in the next 6 months? Not to re-rate the stock, but over the next, let's talk 6, 12, 18 months. What exactly do you have coming up? You have those assay results?
Yeah. So assay results, and not just assay results, put them out the market. Like our team, and myself included, like we have to geologically interrogate those results. You're trying to extrapolate from one or several drill holes what it means in relationship to the other drill holes, in relationship to the surface mineralization, to the theory, or maybe it's a geophysical anomaly. Like, why was that hole put there? Why did it hit? Why did it not hit? And then you're also mapping out lithological and other controls, and so that can take months. So that's happening. In addition to that, we've engaged a resource estimator to start doing a back of the envelope, sort of what potential size, grade, continuity we're dealing with, what would be compliant based on the existing drill holes, what would not be compliant, and when I say not compliant, that means it just needs more drilling because the holes are like 500 meters apart. So kind of drill spacing is required to get to an inferred. And then we have an engineer on our team who's world-renowned, actually, and someone that led the Kamenak feasibility study. So I've already spoken to him. We're going to be doing our own internal engineering study. And again, the foundation for any engineering economic study is a resource, but you have to we don't have that compliant, but we have enough meat to start getting a sense what the economics might look like for this for this project. And we actually have an analyst that covers that has done something similar with his limited data, but we have the whole kit and caboodle. So that's going to be happening. And then obviously taking this data, the new results, and meeting with corporates, major miners, private equity, and then developing a strategy for 2025. And if you follow Tectonic, every year we come up with a strategy in Q1 usually. And to recap, 2024 strategy was to identify areas that could be potential starter pits. We also wanted to validate heap leaching, so by doing metallurgical test work. The third thing is we found historical drill core from 2003 that wasn't fully assayed, so we sent that to the laboratory. The other plan was to raise like $5 million and to go drill test some new areas of Chicken Mountain. And I actually haven't communicated this. Now it's just hitting me right now. Thank you for is that we actually executed on all of that. That was put out in the first quarter. And if you said to anyone, regardless of share price, hey, Mr. CEO of Junior Mining Company XYZ, or hey, my third largest shareholder, Antonio, if I did metallurgy heap leach testing for the first time and told you we're going to find out if this thing's heap leachable, if I said, hey, we're going to raise $5 million, we're going to go drill these 3 new target areas, and by the way, I found 7 historical drill holes that weren't assayed, and we're going to go relog that core and assay it, would you say that'd be a good year?
I would.
Well,
I'll think about it, but
well, I mean, I challenge any. There's great companies out there, but like, who has done this in this sort of environment? So we've executed. So we'll do the exact same thing next year. And I think it's important for us to have a game plan, and I think it's important for our shareholders to know what exactly we're going to do with our capital.
Yeah, exactly. I know we have to run now. We've got people to meet, places to be. What am I forgetting to ask you, though? What's important here at the end?
I don't know. What's important to ask? I think, I don't know. I think, I got to think about that. What would you ask?
You delivered. Well, I'm trying to think about it, but no, you delivered on all fronts. Yeah. That's important. You have another year coming up where you're cashed up. I think we've covered it well. I think in a couple of months, when you have those assets, we'll sit down for a longer conversation, go through everything, just maybe do a geo deep dive, see what you're coming up with. Hopefully that resource. So no, I think we covered it well. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.